The mining station Kepler 442b had been humanity's pride for 3 years. Built into the side of a massive asteroid rich in rare metals, it housed exactly 5 human workers who had volunteered for the isolation. The pay was exceptional, the work was honest, and, most importantly, it kept Earth's industrial machine running. Sarah Chun checked the extraction readings for the 3rd time that morning. As the station's chief engineer, she took pride in maintaining efficiency ratings that made the corporate board back on Earth very happy. The automated mining drones had pulled another record haul overnight, and the refined metals were already being loaded into storage containers for the next transport ship. Another beautiful day in paradise, she muttered to herself, watching the stars through the reinforced viewport of the control room. The joke never got old, even after 2 years on the station. Paradise was a frozen rock spinning through space, but it paid better than any job she could find planetside. Marcus Webb, the station's security chief, entered the control room carrying 2 cups of synthetic coffee. At 45, he was the oldest member of their small crew, a former military man who had seen enough combat to appreciate the peace of space mining. His weathered face carried the kind of calm confidence that came from surviving worse situations than a lonely asteroid. "Morning readings look good," he said, handing Sarah her coffee. "Transport ship should be here in 6 days. Right on schedule." Sarah accepted the cup gratefully. Real coffee was too expensive to ship this far out, but the synthetic stuff wasn't terrible once you got used to it. "The new extraction algorithm is working better than expected. We're running about 15% above projected yields. Corporate will love that," Marcus said. "Might even send us a bonus." In the lower levels of the station, Dr. Elena Vasquez was running her daily equipment checks in the medical bay. As the station's doctor and biologist, she wore multiple hats. Most days, her biggest medical concern was treating minor cuts or headaches, but she also monitored the station's life support systems and conducted research on how long-term isolation affected human psychology. Her current patient was James Jimmy Morrison, the station's youngest crew member at 26. He sat on the medical table while Elena checked a small burn on his forearm, a minor accident from working too close to one of the hot metal processors. "It's healing nicely," she said, applying a fresh bandage. "Just keep it clean and dry. The synthetic skin graft should be fully integrated in another day or 2. Jimmy nodded, flexing his arm carefully. He was the station's maintenance specialist, responsible for keeping all the machinery running smoothly. His easy smile and optimistic attitude helped keep morale up during the long months between supply runs. "Thanks, Document. I'll be more careful around the processors." "You better be. I don't have an unlimited supply of medical materials out here." In the communications center, Thomas Reeves was monitoring routine traffic from nearby systems. As the station's communications officer and pilot, he maintained contact with Earth and tracked the movements of ships in their sector. At 32, he had been working in space for nearly a decade, but this was his first assignment on such a remote station. The morning routine was peaceful and predictable, exactly the way they all liked it. 5 humans working together in the vast emptiness of space, each one essential to keeping their small outpost functioning. They had become more than colleagues over the years. They were family. That peaceful routine was about to end forever. The first sign of trouble came through Thomas's communication array at 14:30 station time. An unidentified ship had appeared on long-range sensors, approaching from the direction of the Centauri system. The vessel wasn't broadcasting any standard identification codes, and its trajectory suggested it was heading directly for their station. Thomas frowned at his displays. Ships occasionally passed through their sector, but they usually announced themselves and maintained safe distances for mining operations. This one was different. It was moving fast, and it was coming straight at them. He opened the internal communication channel. "All hands to the control room. We have an unidentified contact approaching." Within minutes, all 5 crew members had gathered in the main control room. Sarah brought up the tactical display, while Marcus checked the station's limited defensive systems. Elena pulled up stellar charts to see if there were any scheduled arrivals they might have missed and Jimmy started running diagnostics on all critical systems. Range is 2 million kilometers and closing, Thomas reported. No response to standard hailing frequencies. The ship configuration doesn't match any known human vessel. Marcus studied the sensor readings with growing concern. How long until intercept? At current speed, about 4 hours. Admiral Patricia Hayes was reviewing supply requisitions when the emergency beacon's signal reached Earth Command. She had been expecting routine updates from the outer mining stations, not the automated distress call that now dominated every screen in the command center. The signal was weak, but clear, transmitted from the wreckage of Kepler 442b on emergency frequencies reserved for catastrophic events. As the data stream was decoded and analyzed, the scope of what had happened became brutally apparent. 5 humans were dead, murdered by unknown aliens who had attacked without warning or justification. Hayes watched the sensor recordings in silence, her weathered face showing no emotion as she observed the systematic destruction of the mining station. The aliens had been thorough and efficient, eliminating all life support and communication systems before departing with stolen cargo. It was execution, not warfare. How long ago did this happen? She asked her aide, Commander Sarah Martinez. 18 minutes, Admiral. The emergency beacons activated automatically when the station's main systems failed. We're seeing this in real time. Hayes nodded grimly. The 5 crew members of Kepler 442b had been dead for 18 minutes, but Earth was just learning of their fate. The speed of light was both humanity's greatest limitation and, in this case, its greatest protection. The aliens had no idea that their crime had been witnessed and recorded. Have we identified the attackers? Negative, Admiral. The ship configurations don't match any known vessels in our databases. Energy signatures suggest technology significantly advanced beyond current human capabilities. The attack was coordinated between 4 separate vessels. Hayes studied the tactical analysis scrolling across her display. The aliens had demonstrated superior firepower and coordination, but they had also revealed crucial information about their capabilities and tactics. Every energy discharge, every maneuver, every targeting decision had been recorded by the station's sensors before they were destroyed. What's the status of our assets in that sector? The relief squadron dispatched before the attack is still 14 days out. However, we have 3 deep space reconnaissance ships within 2 days' travel of the incident site. Order them to the location immediately. I want full tactical analysis of the wreckage and complete sensor sweeps of the surrounding space. If those alien ships left any trace of their departure vector, I want it found. Commander Martinez nodded and began issuing orders through her communication terminal. Around the command center, duty officers worked with quiet efficiency to coordinate Earth's response to humanity's first interstellar murder. The atmosphere was professional but tense, charged with the controlled anger of military personnel who had just witnessed the unprovoked killing of their own people. Hayes activated her private communication channel to Earth's Unified Defense Council. Within minutes, representatives from every major nation were participating in an emergency session that would reshape humanity's future among the stars. Ladies and gentlemen, Hayes began at 1447 Universal Time. 5 human citizens were murdered by unknown aliens at mining station Kepler 442b. We have complete sensor recordings of the attack, which I'm transmitting now. The silence that followed was profound. Earth's leaders watched the same recordings that Hayes had seen, observing the cold-blooded execution of 5 innocent people whose only crime had been working honestly in the wrong place at the wrong time. President Morrison of the American Federation spoke first. Admiral, what do we know about these attackers? Very little, sir. For ships of unknown design, technology superior to our own, coordinated military tactics. They demanded evacuation, and when our people refused, they killed them without hesitation. Are there any indications of their origin or intentions? Asked Premier Chun of the Asian Coalition. Not yet, ma'am. Our reconnaissance ships should reach the site within 48 hours. However, The attackers did salvage materials from the mining station before departing, which suggests economic motivations. Director Okafor of the African Union leaned forward. Admiral, in your professional opinion, what kind of threat do these aliens represent to Earth? Hayes chose her words carefully. Unknown, sir. But any species willing to commit unprovoked murder over mining rights must be considered extremely dangerous. Their technology appears significantly advanced, and their tactical coordination suggests military experience. The discussion that followed lasted 3 hours and covered every aspect of humanity's predicament. Earth faced its first contact with intelligent alien life, and that contact had begun with the murder of 5 humans. The question wasn't whether to respond, but how to respond proportionally to an act of interstellar terrorism. By the end of the session, several decisions have been made. First, all human activities in deep space would be suspended until the threat could be assessed. Second, Earth's military forces will be placed on high alert and begin immediate preparations for potential conflict. Third, a new military doctrine would be developed specifically for interstellar warfare against technologically superior opponents. But the most important decision was made privately by Admiral Hayes after the formal session ended. She activated her highest security protocols and began composing orders that would never appear in any official records. Earth's response to the murder of 5 humans would be swift, overwhelming, and final. Over the following days, Earth's industrial capacity shifted into a configuration not seen since the resource wars of the previous century. Shipyards that had been producing civilian vessels began retooling for military construction. Research facilities that had focused on peaceful exploration received new mandates to develop advanced weapons systems. Universities and corporations found themselves working on projects that would never be publicly acknowledged. The reconnaissance ships reached the wreckage of Kepler 442b exactly 47 hours after the attack. Commander Lisa Park of the deep space vessel Magellan transmitted her initial findings to Earth Command while her crew conducted detailed scans of the debris field. The destruction is total, she reported. No survivors, no intact systems. However, we've recovered significant data from the emergency beacons and scattered sensor arrays. The alien ships departed on a heading toward the Proxima Centauri system. Admiral Hayes received the report in her private office, surrounded by displays showing Earth's rapidly expanding military preparations. Any trace of the attackers' current location? Negative, Admiral. But we've identified distinctive energy signatures from their weapons and propulsion systems. If we encounter these signatures again, we'll know immediately that we've found the right targets. Understood, Commander. Continue your investigation and report any additional findings immediately. What Commander Park didn't report, because her orders specifically prohibited any electronic transmission of the information, was the discovery of something extraordinary in the wreckage. Hidden among the destroyed mining equipment, her team had found fragments of alien technology that the attackers had apparently lost during their salvage operations. These fragments were carefully collected and placed in sealed containers for immediate transport to Earth. They represented humanity's first samples of advanced alien technology, and they would prove crucial to Earth's plans for revenge. Every molecule would be analyzed, every energy pattern studied, every design principle reverse engineered. Meanwhile, across the solar system, humanity's greatest minds were being quietly recruited for a project that officially didn't exist. Dr. Elizabeth Hoffman, Earth's leading expert in theoretical physics, found herself reassigned from her university position to a classified research facility. Dr. James Chun, the solar system's most accomplished weapons designer, received orders to report to a location that didn't appear on any official maps. They were joined by hundreds of other specialists, engineers, physicists, biologists, computer programmers, and military strategists. All were sworn to absolute secrecy about their work. All understood that they were developing tools for humanity's survival against a technologically superior enemy. The project had no official name, but Those involved called it the quiet response. Earth's revenge for the murder of 5 humans would not be announced with declarations or ultimatums. It would arrive suddenly and completely, giving the aliens no opportunity to prepare defenses or negotiate for mercy. 3 weeks after the attack on Kepler 442b, the alien fragments arrived at the secret research facility. Dr. Hoffman examined the samples with growing excitement and horror. The technology was indeed far beyond current human capabilities, but it was not incomprehensible. The aliens used different materials and energy sources, but their underlying principles followed the same physical laws that governed human technology. More importantly, the fragments revealed a critical weakness. The aliens' advanced systems appear to depend on a specific type of quantum resonance that could be disrupted with the right frequency modulation. It would be like finding that an advanced computer could be disabled by playing a particular musical note. Dr. Chun immediately began developing weapons that could exploit this weakness. If the theory was correct, human ships equipped with quantum disruptors could neutralize alien vessels regardless of their technological superiority. The hunters would become the hunted. But weapons were only part of Earth's response. Admiral Hayes had ordered the development of an entirely new type of warfare, one that would allow humanity to strike at enemies across interstellar distances without revealing Earth's location or capabilities. The aliens had shown that they were willing to commit murder for economic gain. Earth would show them the price of threatening human lives. The plan that emerged from months of secret planning was elegant in its simplicity. Rather than sending massive fleets to confront the aliens directly, Earth would deploy small, highly advanced ships capable of operating independently for years. These vessels would hunt down every alien ship and installation connected to the attack on Kepler 442b, destroying them one by one with no warning and no mercy. The aliens would never know when or where the next attack would come. They would live in constant fear, watching their ships disappear and their bases burn without ever seeing their attackers. Earth's vengeance would be patient, thorough, and absolutely terrifying. As construction began on the first quiet response vessels, Admiral Hayes reviewed the psychological profiles of potential crews. These would not be traditional military missions. The crews would spend months or years alone in deep space, hunting intelligent beings with the goal of total extermination. Only the most stable and dedicated personnel could handle such assignments. Captain Maria Santos was selected to command the first mission. A veteran of the outer colony conflicts, she had demonstrated exceptional skill in independent operations and showed no hesitation when briefed on her true objectives. Her target would be the alien fleet responsible for the attack on Kepler 442b. "Understand, Captain," Admiral Hayes explained during the final briefing. "This is not a mission of capture or negotiation. You will locate the aliens responsible for murdering our people, and you will destroy them. There will be no warnings, no opportunities for surrender, no mercy." Captain Santos nodded. "Understood, Admiral. What about collateral damage if they have civilian populations?" They made that decision when they chose to murder civilians at a mining station. "Any species willing to commit such acts has forfeited the right to our consideration." The first quiet response ship launched 6 months after the attack on Kepler 442b. To any external observer, it appeared to be a routine deep space research vessel conducting scientific surveys. No one suspected that it carried enough firepower to destroy a small fleet and was crewed by specialists trained in interstellar assassination. Captain Santos and her crew of 12 began their hunt by following the energy trail left by the alien fleet. The signatures were faint after so much time, but human technology had improved dramatically since the attack. New sensors could detect quantum resonance patterns across interstellar distances, making it possible to track ships days or even weeks after they had passed through a system. The trail led toward the Proxima Centauri system, just as the initial reconnaissance had suggested. But as they drew closer, Santos realized that they were tracking more than just 4 ships. The aliens had returned to what appeared to be a major base of operations, possibly their home system. "Captain," reported her science officer, Lieutenant Commander Kim Zhao, "I'm detecting at least 30 alien vessels in the Proxima system, plus what appear to be orbital installations and surface facilities on Proxima Centauri b." Santos studied the sensor readings with professional interest. The aliens had built an impressive infrastructure in the system closest to Earth, possibly using it as a staging ground for expansion into human space. Their population appeared to be in the millions, supported by extensive mining and manufacturing operations. "Any sign of defensive preparations? Do they know we're coming?" "Negative, Captain. All operations appear routine. They're not expecting visitors." The attack began at exactly 0300 ship time with the silent launch of 6 quantum torpedoes toward the largest alien orbital platform. Captain Santos watched from the bridge of her vessel as the weapons streaked through space, invisible to conventional sensors and programmed to exploit the quantum resonance weakness discovered in the alien technology fragments. The torpedoes struck their targets simultaneously, and the results exceeded every projection from the weapons tests. The massive orbital platform, which sensors indicated housed over 50,000 aliens, simply ceased to exist. The quantum disruption cascaded through its systems so rapidly that the structure had no time to send distress signals before disintegrating into component atoms. "First target eliminated," reported Lieutenant Commander Zhao. "No debris, no survivors, no transmissions." Santos nodded approvingly. The quantum weapons were performing exactly as designed, leaving no evidence of human involvement. To any observer, the orbital platform would appear to have suffered a catastrophic containment failure, a tragic accident that could happen to any advanced civilization working with dangerous technologies. Proceed to Phase 2. Target the naval shipyard. The alien shipyard hung in orbit around Proxima Centauri b like a metallic spider, its construction arms working continuously to produce new vessels for their expanding fleet. Santos counted 18 ships in various stages of completion, including several that matched the configuration of the vessels responsible for the attack on Kepler 442b. This target required a more delicate approach. Rather than destroying the entire facility, Santos ordered the deployment of specialized infiltration drones that would sabotage individual ships and systems. The aliens would watch their fleet tear itself apart from within, never realizing that human technology was systematically murdering their crews. The drones, each no larger than a human fist, approached the shipyard using gravitational anomalies to mask their presence. Once attached to alien vessels, they began introducing quantum resonance patterns that would cause catastrophic failures in critical systems. The timing was carefully coordinated to create maximum psychological impact. At 0347, the first alien ship exploded without warning. Emergency teams rushed to investigate while other vessels began evacuation procedures. At 0351, 2 more ships suffered simultaneous reactor failures, filling the surrounding space with radioactive debris. By 0400, half the ships in the facility had been destroyed by what appeared to be a cascade of mechanical failures. The remaining alien crews were in full panic, abandoning their vessels and fleeing to what they thought was the safety of the shipyard structure itself. They had no way of knowing that the infiltration drones were already in position throughout the facility, waiting for Santos's next command. "All drones report ready status," Lieutenant Commander Jackson reported from the weapons console. "Shipyard infrastructure is compromised and ready for termination." "Execute," Santos ordered. The shipyard died as spectacularly as the orbital platform, its massive structure torn apart by internal explosions that cascaded through every major system. Thousands of aliens who had thought themselves safe were incinerated in seconds as their workplace became their tomb. The few escape pods that launched were systematically destroyed by precisely targeted energy bursts that left no survivors. From the planet's surface, the death of the shipyard would have appeared as a brief, brilliant star before fading to nothing. The aliens planetside had no idea that they were witnessing the beginning of their species' extinction, ordered by creatures they had dismissed as primitive minors unworthy of consideration. Phase 3, Santos announced. Surface targets. Proxima Centauri B hosted a thriving alien civilization with cities housing millions of inhabitants. These were not military targets in any traditional sense, but Santos had her orders. The aliens had chosen to murder innocent humans, and Earth's response would be proportional to the crime they had committed. Every alien in the system would pay the price for their species' aggression. The surface bombardment required a different approach to the orbital attacks. Quantum torpedoes were too powerful and would crack the planet's crust, potentially making the system unusable for future human colonization. Instead, Santos deployed atmospheric processors that would systematically eliminate all alien life while leaving the infrastructure intact. The processors, designed to appear as natural atmospheric phenomena, began releasing engineered viruses into Proxima Centauri B's atmosphere. The viruses were specifically tailored to target alien biology while being completely harmless to humans or Earth-based life forms. Within hours, every breathing creature on the planet would be dead. Biological agents deployed successfully, reported Dr. Helen Kim, the mission's xenobiologist. Projected timeline for complete sterilization is 6 hours. The viruses will break down naturally after 48 hours, leaving the planet safe for human habitation. Santos observed the process through long-range sensors, watching as the alien cities gradually fell silent. There was no panic, no desperate evacuation attempts. The viruses worked too quickly and efficiently for the aliens to understand what was happening. They simply went to sleep and never woke up. By 1200 ship time, Proxima Centauri B was a dead world. Its city stood intact, but empty, its infrastructure undamaged, but abandoned. The millions of aliens who had called it home were gone, eliminated as efficiently as they had eliminated 5 human miners. But Santos wasn't finished. Intelligence reports indicated that the aliens had established mining operations in the outer system, including automated facilities on several asteroids and moons. These installations would continue operating indefinitely unless destroyed, potentially serving as evidence of what had happened in the system. Deploy cleanup teams to all outer system targets, she ordered. I want every trace of alien presence eliminated. This system belongs to humanity now. The cleanup operation took another 8 hours. Automated mining platforms were reduced to scrap metal, communication relays were systematically destroyed, and monitoring stations were wiped from existence. When the operation was complete, the Proxima Centauri system appeared to have suffered a series of catastrophic accidents that had eliminated all intelligent life. Santos compiled her mission report as her ship prepared to depart the now sterile system. The operation had been a complete success, exceeding all projections for efficiency and stealth. More importantly, it had demonstrated that human technology could successfully engage and destroy alien forces regardless of their apparent technological superiority. Mission summary, she dictated to her personal log. Proxima Centauri system successfully sterilized. All alien military and civilian assets eliminated. No evidence of human involvement remains. System is ready for immediate colonization by Earth forces. Total alien casualties estimated at 12 million. No human casualties. The numbers were staggering, but Santos felt no remorse. War was mathematics, and the mathematics were simple. 5 humans had been murdered, requiring a proportional response that eliminated the threat permanently. 12 million aliens had died, but their deaths would prevent future attacks on human settlements. As her ship departed Proxima Centauri, Santos received new orders from Earth Command. Her success had exceeded expectations, and Admiral Hayes wanted to expand the operation immediately. 6 more quiet response vessels were being deployed to hunt down any aliens who might have escaped the system or who maintained operations elsewhere. The hunt was expanding beyond simple revenge. Earth had decided that any species willing to commit unprovoked murder represented an unacceptable threat to human expansion. The galaxy was large enough for multiple intelligent species, but only if those species understood that attacking humans would result in their complete extinction. Santos's next target was a system 15 light-years away, where intelligence suggested the Proxima aliens had established a research outpost. The facility was small, housing perhaps 1,000 scientists and support staff, but it represented a potential threat that could not be ignored. Earth's new doctrine was absolute. No alien presence will be tolerated in any system that humans might eventually want to colonize. The journey to the research outpost took 3 weeks, during which Santos and her crew refined their tactics based on lessons learned from the Proxima operation. They had discovered that the aliens' quantum resonance weakness was even more exploitable than originally thought. New weapons designs could target specific systems within alien technology, allowing for more precise destruction. When they reached the research system, Santos was surprised to find that the aliens had apparently received no communication about the destruction of Proxima Centauri. Their operations continued normally, with no sign of defensive preparations or evacuation procedures. Either their communication networks were extremely limited, or news of Proxima's sterilization simply hadn't reached this remote outpost. They have no idea what happened to their home system, Lieutenant Commander Zhao observed while analyzing the alien communications traffic. They're still sending routine reports and supply requests to Proxima. They don't know that everyone there is dead. Santos considered this information carefully. The aliens' ignorance could be used to gather intelligence about their broader civilization before eliminating them. If this research outpost was part of a larger network, destroying it prematurely might alert other alien installations to the threat humanity represented. Begin passive monitoring of all alien communications, she ordered. I want to know about every installation, every ship, and every individual in their network before we move against them. We'll eliminate this outpost last after we've identified and destroyed all related targets. Over the following days, Santos's team intercepted thousands of alien transmissions and slowly pieced together the scope of their civilization. The news was both encouraging and alarming. The aliens were not a vast galactic empire, but rather a relatively small species that had only recently achieved interstellar travel. Their total population across all systems was perhaps 50 million individuals. However, they were aggressively expansionist and had already identified several human-controlled systems as targets for future colonization. The attack on Kepler 442b had not been an isolated incident, but rather the first step in a planned campaign to seize human mining operations throughout the sector. They were planning to do to us what we're doing to them, Dr. Kim observed while reviewing the intercepted communications. Complete elimination of human presence in systems they want to control. Santos studied the intelligence reports with professional detachment. The aliens had sealed their own fate when they decided that humans were expendable obstacles to their expansion. Earth's response was not revenge. It was preemptive self-defense against a species that viewed genocide as an acceptable economic strategy. Compile a list of all alien installations and vessels mentioned in their communications, she ordered. I want targeting priorities for a systematic campaign that will eliminate their entire civilization within 6 months. The list, when completed, contained 47 separate targets spread across 12 star systems. The aliens have been busy during their few decades of interstellar expansion, establishing research outposts, mining operations, and small colonies throughout the local region. Each target would require careful planning and execution to ensure complete destruction without leaving evidence of human involvement. Santos transmitted her intelligence findings to Earth Command along with recommendations for expanding the quiet response operation. The scope of the threat required a larger commitment of resources, but the potential payoff was enormous. Eliminating the aliens would secure an entire sector of space for human colonization. Admiral Hayes's response was swift and decisive. Earth would deploy 20 additional quiet response vessels to systematically eliminate all alien presence in the sector. The operation would be completed within 1 year, after which the region would be ready for immediate human settlement. Santos received command of the expanded operation, with orders to coordinate strikes across multiple star systems simultaneously. The aliens would have no opportunity to warn each other or prepare defenses. Earth's vengeance would fall upon them like a natural disaster, swift and inescapable. The research outpost that had provided so much valuable intelligence would be destroyed last, ensuring that its communications equipment could continue intercepting alien transmissions until the very end. Santos wanted the aliens to maintain their false sense of security for as long as possible, never suspecting that their casual murder of 5 humans had condemned their entire species to extinction. As additional quiet response ships began arriving in the sector, Santos reviewed the final operational plans. Each target had been analyzed in detail, with specific attack vectors designed to maximize destruction while maintaining the illusion of accidental failures. The aliens would die believing that their advanced technology had simply proven unreliable, never knowing that they were being systematically exterminated by the primitive humans they had dismissed. The campaign would begin in 72 hours. When it was complete, humanity would control 12 star systems, and the aliens would exist only as a cautionary tale about the dangers of underestimating human determination. Earth's quiet vengeance was about to become very loud indeed. The systematic extermination of an entire alien species began at 0600 Universal Time across 12 star systems simultaneously. 20 quiet response vessels, each commanded by carefully selected officers with proven records of ruthless efficiency, struck their assigned targets with mathematical precision. Captain Santos coordinated the operation from her flagship position in the research system, monitoring communications intercepts as reports of catastrophic system failures began flooding the alien networks. Each quiet response vessel reported successful target elimination within hours of the operation's commencement. But maintaining the appearance of accidental disasters required careful timing and coordination. Target 17 eliminated, reported Captain Shun from the Wolf 359 system. Mining platform suffered apparent reactor containment failure. No survivors, no evidence of external attack. Moving to secondary targets. Similar reports flooded Santos's communication channels throughout the day. Captain Rodriguez eliminated a survey fleet in the Ross 128 system by introducing quantum cascade failures that made their ships tear themselves apart. Captain Okafor sterilized a small colony in Barnard's Star using atmospheric processors that simulated a plague outbreak. Captain Thompson destroyed an entire fleet base at Gliese 667C by sabotaging their fuel storage facilities. The aliens initially responded to each disaster as an isolated incident, dispatching rescue teams and investigating potential equipment failures. Their scientists worked frantically to understand how their advanced technology could fail so catastrophically and simultaneously across multiple systems. They had no framework for understanding that they were being systematically murdered by a species they considered primitive. By the end of the first week, 38 alien installations had been destroyed, and over 2 million aliens were dead. The survivors were beginning to panic as the pattern of disasters became too widespread to ignore. Emergency communications revealed growing paranoia and conspiracy theories as the aliens struggled to explain their sudden run of catastrophic bad luck. Santos monitored these communications with professional satisfaction. The psychological warfare component was working exactly as planned. The aliens were becoming so focused on their internal technical failures that they weren't looking for external threats. Fear and confusion were making them easier targets for subsequent attacks. Their central command has ordered a complete shutdown of all deep space operations, Lieutenant Commander Zhao reported while analyzing the latest intelligence intercepts. They're recalling all ships to their core systems and suspending expansion activities indefinitely. Santos smiled grimly. The aliens were doing exactly what Earth's planners had predicted, consolidating their remaining forces in easily targeted clusters. Rather than spreading out to make themselves harder to find, they were gathering together like animals huddling for warmth, making the final phase of extermination much more efficient. "Redirect all quiet response vessels to the core systems," she ordered. "We'll let them gather their flocks before the slaughter." The core alien systems were heavily defended compared to the outer installations, but their defenses were designed to repel conventional attacks by visible enemies. The aliens had no defense against weapons that appeared to be internal system failures, operated by attackers who remained completely invisible and undetectable. Captain Martinez approached the heavily fortified Kepler 438 system, which housed the aliens' primary military command and their largest population center. Intelligence intercepts indicated over 8 million aliens in the system, including their political leadership and military high command. Destroying this system would effectively decapitate the alien civilization. The challenge was scale. Previous attacks had targeted individual installations or small populations, but eliminating 8 million aliens required weapons and tactics that could achieve planetary genocide while maintaining the illusion of accidental disaster. Earth scientists had anticipated this requirement and provided Martinez with tools specifically designed for exterminating entire worlds. The planet killer virus was a masterpiece of biological warfare, engineered to spread through the alien atmosphere and water systems while appearing to be a natural pathogen. Once released, it would eliminate all alien life within 96 hours while leaving no trace of artificial origin. Post-mortem analysis would suggest a naturally occurring plague that had evolved on the planet's surface. Martinez deployed the virus using stealth drones that infiltrated the planet's weather control systems. The aliens had terraformed their world to maintain optimal atmospheric conditions, never realizing that their climate management technology would become the delivery mechanism for their extinction. The plague spread exactly as designed. Within hours, aliens across the planet were falling ill with symptoms that resembled a severe respiratory infection. Within days, entire cities were silent as the population succumbed to what appeared to be a naturally occurring pandemic. The aliens' medical technology was advanced enough to analyze the pathogen, but not sophisticated enough to recognize it as an artificial creation. Captain Martinez watched from orbit as an entire civilization died. His sensors tracked the systematic failure of power grids, transportation networks, and communication systems as the operators succumbed to the engineered plague. Within a week, Kepler 438b was a tomb containing 8 million corpses and no witnesses to what had truly happened. Similar exterminations were taking place throughout the alien core systems. Captain Williams deployed atmospheric incendiaries that turned the alien homeworld's atmosphere into a planetary crematorium. Captain Johnson introduced engineered bacteria into their food supply networks that caused massive organ failure while appearing to be food poisoning. Captain Davis simply detonated hidden antimatter charges that vaporized entire continents and made their destruction appear to be geological disasters. The last alien stronghold was a heavily defended space station in the Gliese 581 system, protected by their most advanced military technology and housing their emergency government. The aliens had managed to evacuate several 100,000 survivors to this facility before the plague reached their core worlds, and they were desperately trying to understand what was happening to their civilization. Santos personally led the final assault on the space station, approaching through the system's asteroid field to avoid detection by their sensor networks. The station's defenses were impressive by alien standards, but they were designed to intercept missiles and energy weapons, not quantum disruptors that could tear apart matter at the subatomic level. The attack lasted exactly 17 minutes. Santos's ship fired a single quantum torpedo that struck the station's central core and began a cascade failure that spread throughout the massive structure. Emergency systems activated automatically, but they were designed to contain conventional damage, not quantum dissolution of the station's structural matrix. The aliens had time to broadcast a final message before their station disintegrated. Santos listened to their desperate transmission, a plea for help directed toward empty space in the hope that some unknown rescue would arrive. The message spoke of inexplicable disasters, technological failures beyond comprehension, and the complete collapse of their civilization. To any who received this transmission, the alien voice said in accented but understandable English, "Our species is dying. We do not know why our technology has failed so catastrophically. We do not know why our worlds have fallen silent. If there are others among the stars, learn from our mistakes. Do not trust your machines. Do not believe that advancement means safety. Something is hunting us, and we never saw it coming." The transmission ended as the space station completed its disintegration, taking the last survivors of an entire species into the void. Santos felt no sympathy for their plight. They had brought extinction upon themselves when they chose to murder 5 innocent humans for the crime of mining asteroids in their own territory. The cleanup phase of the operation took another month. Every quiet response vessel methodically visited every former alien installation to ensure complete destruction and eliminate any evidence that might reveal the truth about what had happened. Automated systems were destroyed, computer cores were wiped clean, and any remaining technology was either destroyed or carefully collected for study. When the operation concluded, the local sector contained no trace of the alien civilization that had once claimed 12-star systems. Their worlds were empty, their fleets were scrap metal floating in space, and their people existed only as organic compounds decomposing in the soil of distant planets. Santos compiled her final report while her ship returned to Earth, documenting the successful elimination of an entire species in response to their unprovoked attack on human civilians. The numbers were staggering: 50 million aliens dead, 12-star systems cleansed, and 47 installations destroyed. The cost to humanity had been negligible: 20 ships, minimal resources, and less than 1 year of time. Admiral Hayes reviewed the report in her private office on Earth, surrounded by displays showing the rapid colonization of the former alien territories. Human settlers were already en route to the most valuable worlds, and terraforming operations would begin within months. The elimination of the alien threat had opened an entire sector of space for human expansion. Casualties? Hayes asked during Santos's debriefing. 0 human casualties, Admiral. The aliens never even knew we were there. Effectiveness of the quantum weapons? Beyond all projections. The alien technology was completely vulnerable to quantum disruption once we understood their resonance frequencies. Our weapons systems performed flawlessly throughout the campaign. Hayes nodded approvingly. And the psychological impact on the aliens? Complete success, Admiral. They died believing their own technology had failed them. No alien ever suspected human involvement in their extinction. The debriefing continued for several hours, covering every aspect of humanity's first genocidal campaign against an alien species. The lessons learned would be incorporated into Earth's expanding military doctrine, preparing for future encounters with hostile alien civilizations. But the most important lesson was already clear. Humanity would not tolerate aggression against its people, regardless of the cost in alien lives. The murder of 5 humans had been answered with the extinction of 50 million aliens. Any species considering future attacks on human settlements would need to consider whether the potential gains were worth risking their entire civilization. Earth's message was clear and would spread through the galaxy as other alien species investigated the mysterious disappearance of their neighbors. Humanity was not a species to be trifled with. Attacking human civilians would result in swift, total, and irreversible retaliation. The Quiet Response Operation was officially classified as humanity's greatest military success, but it would never appear in public records. The 50 million aliens who had died for the crimes of 5 would be forgotten by everyone except the human officers who had conducted their extermination. Their deaths served a larger purpose. ensuring that no alien species would ever again underestimate the price of spilling human blood. As Captain Santos's ship approached Earth, she reflected on the campaign's broader implications. Humanity had proven that it could identify, hunt, and eliminate entire alien civilizations with minimal resources and no risk to human lives. The galaxy was vast and contained many potential threats, but Earth now possessed the tools and experience necessary to deal with them permanently. The 5 humans who had died at Kepler 442b had been avenged 50 million times over. Their murderers were extinct, their civilization was ash, and their territory belonged to humanity. It was a proportional response by any reasonable standard, and it established precedents that would keep human space safe for generations to come. Earth's vengeance had indeed come quietly, but its echoes would resonate throughout the galaxy for millennia. 5 years had passed since the extinction of the Proximan species, and the galaxy had taken notice. What had begun as a quiet act of vengeance for 5 murdered humans had evolved into something far more significant. A demonstration that humanity was not a species to be trifled with under any circumstances. Dr. Elena Vasquez's daughter, Maria, stood before the memorial wall on Earth's newest colony world, reading the names of the 5 miners whose deaths had changed the course of galactic history. At 18, she was preparing to join the Colonial Survey Corps, following in the footsteps of her late mother who had died, defending humanity's right to exist in the stars. The memorial was simple but powerful. 5 names carved into a wall of Proximan crystal, surrounded by the flags of the 12 star systems that had been claimed for humanity in the aftermath. Sarek Chun, Marcus Webb, Elena Vasquez, James Morrison, and Thomas Reeves were remembered not just as victims, but as the catalyst for humanity's emergence as a galactic power. They died mining asteroids, Maria said to her companion, Lieutenant Commander Jackson Chun, the son of the famous Dr. James Chun who had developed the quantum disruptor technology. They had no idea their deaths would lead to the conquest of an entire sector. Jackson nodded respectfully. His father's weapons had made the quiet response possible, but he understood the human cost that had driven their development. 50 million aliens died because 5 humans were murdered. The proportional response doctrine has kept us safe ever since. Around them, the bustling colony world of New Proxima demonstrated humanity's rapid expansion into former alien territory. Cities built on the foundations of extinct alien settlements housed millions of human colonists who lived and worked where the Proximans had once planned to eliminate human presence entirely. The irony was not lost on anyone. The transformation had been remarkable. What had once been alien mining worlds and research stations were now thriving human colonies. The superior Proximan technology, reverse-engineered by Earth scientists, had accelerated human development by centuries. Faster-than-light travel, advanced manufacturing, and quantum computing were now standard human technologies. But the most significant change was in humanity's galactic reputation. The mysterious disappearance of the Proximan civilization had sent shockwaves through the networks of alien species that inhabited the local region. 50 million advanced aliens had simply vanished without explanation, leaving behind empty worlds and silent space stations. The official explanation, carefully crafted by Earth's intelligence services, suggested that the Proximans had suffered a cascade of technological failures that led to their extinction. Their advanced quantum-based technology had apparently reached a critical instability threshold that caused simultaneous failures across their entire civilization. It was a cautionary tale about the dangers of advancing too quickly without proper safeguards. Most alien species accepted this explanation because the alternative was too terrifying to consider. The idea that another species could systematically exterminate 50 million advanced beings without leaving any evidence was beyond their comprehension. It was easier to believe that the Proximans had been victims of their own technological hubris. But not all aliens were so naive. In the years following the Proximan extinction, several alien intelligence networks had begun investigating the possibility that the disasters had been artificially induced. Their findings were disturbing and pointed toward the existence of a species capable of genocide on an interstellar scale. The Centaurian Trade Federation was the first alien government to openly discuss the possibility that the Proximans had been murdered. Their intelligence analysis, based on 5 years of investigation, concluded that no known natural phenomenon could explain the simultaneous failure of technology across multiple star systems. The only logical explanation was intervention by an unknown hostile force. Admiral Patricia Hayes, now in her 60s but still commanding Earth's military forces, reviewed the latest intelligence reports about alien suspicions regarding the Proximan extinction. Some species were getting dangerously close to the truth, and Earth needed to decide how to respond to their growing awareness. The Centaurians know, she told President Morrison during their weekly briefing on galactic affairs. Their intelligence reports describe the Proximan extinction as systematic extermination by unknown hostile forces. They haven't identified us as the perpetrators yet, but they're actively investigating. President Morrison, who had overseen Earth's response to the original attack on Kepler 442b, considered the implications carefully. How many other species share their suspicions? At least 6 that we know of. The Andorian Collective, the Vegan Commonwealth, the Rigel Alliance, and 3 smaller governments have all initiated investigations into possible artificial causes for the Proximan extinction. Are any of them considering preemptive action against potential threats? Hayes shook her head. They're too frightened. The scope of what happened to the Proximans has convinced them that whoever was responsible has capabilities far beyond their own. They're trying to identify the threat, but they're also taking measures to avoid becoming targets themselves. This was exactly the psychological effect that Earth strategists had hoped to achieve. The aliens were now operating under the assumption that an extremely dangerous, unknown force existed in their region of space, capable of exterminating entire civilizations without warning. This fear was making them more cautious about expansion and much less likely to consider aggressive actions against weaker species. The doctrine of proportional response had evolved into something more sophisticated than simple revenge. Earth was using the fear generated by the Proximan extinction to create a buffer zone of cautious alien species who would think twice before threatening human interests. The death of 5 humans had been leveraged into a galactic deterrent that protected all of humanity. But maintaining this deterrent required careful management. If the aliens discovered that humans were responsible for the Proximan genocide, they might unite against Earth despite their fear. If they concluded that the threat was too distant to be immediately dangerous, they might resume their aggressive expansion patterns. Earth needed to provide just enough evidence to maintain fear without revealing the truth. The solution came from an unexpected source: the aliens themselves. The Centaurian investigation had discovered traces of quantum resonance patterns in the debris of Proximan installations, evidence that pointed toward the use of advanced quantum weapons. Rather than hiding this evidence, Earth's intelligence services decided to enhance it, creating false trails that suggested the existence of a mysterious species with capabilities that exceeded even human technology. Captain Maria Santos, now promoted to Admiral and commanding Earth's deep space intelligence operations, oversaw the creation of these false trails. Her teams planted evidence throughout the former Proximan territory that suggested the existence of a nomadic alien species called the Harvesters, mysterious beings who moved through the galaxy, eliminating other species and claiming their resources. The Harvester fiction was carefully crafted to explain every aspect of the Proximan extinction while deflecting suspicion from humanity. These fictional aliens were described as using quantum disruptor technology to eliminate potential threats, operating with such stealth that they remained undetectable until they chose to attack. They supposedly moved through the galaxy in cycles, appearing every few centuries to eliminate species that had become too advanced or too aggressive. The evidence was subtle but convincing: quantum resonance patterns that suggested non-human origins, debris patterns that implied weapon systems beyond current understanding, communication intercepts that hinted at coordination by unknown forces. Each piece of evidence was designed to reinforce the harvester theory while making it impossible to trace the real perpetrators. The alien response was everything Earth had hoped for. Rather than investigating human involvement in the proximate extinction, the various alien governments became obsessed with protecting themselves from the mythical harvesters. They formed defensive alliances, reduced their territorial expansion, and focused their resources on developing early warning systems for detecting the fictional threat. Dr. James Chun, now elderly but still leading Earth's weapons development programs, found the situation grimly amusing. "We've created our own mythology," he told his son during one of their rare meetings. "The aliens are so afraid of fictional monsters that they've stopped being real monsters themselves." Jackson Chun, who now served as Earth's deputy intelligence chief, understood the broader implications. The harvester myth is working too well. Some alien species are so frightened that they're considering abandoning their colonies and retreating to their core worlds. If they become too isolated, they might stop being useful sources of intelligence. This was indeed a concern for Earth's strategic planners. The fear of the fictional harvesters needed to be calibrated carefully to discourage alien aggression without completely paralyzing alien civilization. Earth benefited from having active alien species to monitor and occasionally exploit, but not if they became so fearful that they stopped all interstellar activity. Admiral Santos developed a solution that demonstrated the sophistication of Earth's psychological warfare capabilities. Rather than simply maintaining the harvester fiction, she began introducing evidence that suggested the mysterious aliens had moved on to other regions of the galaxy. The immediate threat was receding, but the memory of what had happened to the Proximans would serve as a permanent reminder of the consequences of aggressive expansion. The campaign to establish humanity's galactic deterrent reached its culmination when the Centaurian Trade Federation formally announced their conclusion that the Proximan extinction had been caused by an unknown hostile force that had since departed the region. They issued warnings to all species about the dangers of rapid technological advancement and aggressive territorial expansion, effectively institutionalizing the fear that Earth had so carefully cultivated. Maria Vasquez watched the Centaurian announcement from the bridge of her new assignment, the survey ship UES Elena Vasquez, named in honor of her mother. At 18, she was the youngest officer ever assigned to Earth's deep space exploration program. But her family connection to the Kepler 442b incident made her a symbol of humanity's determination to remember its fallen heroes. The ship was conducting surveys of former Proximan territory, documenting the resources and facilities that humanity had inherited through its quiet act of genocide. The irony was not lost on Maria that she was exploring worlds that had been claimed for humanity through her mother's death, but she understood the larger strategic picture that had made such extreme measures necessary. The Proximans were planning to do the same thing to us, Captain Williams reminded her as they surveyed the remains of a Proximan research station. Intelligence intercepts showed that they viewed humans as primitive obstacles to be eliminated. They started the war when they murdered your mother and her colleagues. Maria nodded, though she sometimes wondered if there had been alternatives to the complete extermination of the Proximan species. 50 million aliens had died for the crimes of the few who had attacked Kepler 442b, but the proportional response doctrine had established principles that protected all of humanity from future threats. The survey of former Proximan territory was revealing the scope of what humanity had gained through its quiet act of vengeance. Advanced manufacturing facilities that could be repurposed for human use. Research stations containing scientific data that would accelerate human development for decades. Mining operations that would provide resources for continued expansion. The death of 5 humans had been leveraged into the acquisition of an entire civilization's accumulated wealth. But perhaps more importantly, humanity had established its reputation as a species that responded to aggression with overwhelming and final retaliation. The alien species that remained in the local region had received a clear message. Attacking humans would result in consequences far beyond anything they were prepared to accept. 5 years after the Quiet Response Operation, Earth controlled 23 star systems and had a population of over 8 billion humans spread across dozens of worlds. The rapid expansion had been made possible by proximate technology and resources, but it was sustained by the deterrent effect that kept other alien species from challenging human territorial claims. Admiral Hayes, now preparing for retirement, reflected on the long-term implications of humanity's response to the Kepler 442b attack. We started with 5 dead miners and ended with an interstellar empire, she told her successor during the transition briefing. The proportional response doctrine gave us the tools to claim our place among the stars. The 5 humans who had died at Kepler 442b had indeed been avenged, but their deaths had accomplished something far greater than simple revenge. They had provided the justification and motivation for humanity's emergence as a major galactic power, protected by a reputation for ruthless efficiency that would discourage aggression for generations to come. Their names were carved not just in crystal memorials, but in the quantum structure of space itself, remembered by every alien species that had learned the terrible lesson of what happened when humans were pushed too far. Earth's vengeance had come quietly, but its echoes would resonate throughout the galaxy until the end of time. Santos smiled grimly. The aliens had murdered 5 humans and returned home thinking they were safe. They were about to learn that humans had very long memories and were extremely patient in their pursuit of justice. The fact that millions of aliens would die for the crimes of a few was irrelevant. They should have considered the consequences before attacking innocent miners. Begin final preparations, Santos ordered. We go in at 0300 ship time. I want complete destruction of military assets and infrastructure. Leave nothing that could threaten human expansion in this sector. Her crew worked with quiet efficiency to prepare for humanity's first act of interstellar warfare. They had trained for this mission for months, understanding that they were about to change the balance of power in the galaxy forever. The aliens who had casually murdered 5 humans were about to discover that Earth's vengeance was neither forgiveness nor forgetfulness. The attack would begin in 6 hours, and when it was over, the Proxima Centauri system would be a graveyard. Earth's message would be clear. Humanity would not tolerate aggression against its people, regardless of the cost or consequences. Could be a first contact situation, Elena suggested. Maybe they're just curious about our operations here. Sarah wasn't convinced. If they were peaceful explorers, wouldn't they try to communicate? Standard protocols exist for a reason. Marcus nodded grimly. Thomas, send a message to Earth Command. Full situation report. Include all sensor data and maintain an open channel for continuous updates. Already on it, Thomas said, his fingers dancing across the communication console. But Earth is 18 light minutes away. Even if they respond immediately, we won't hear back for over half an hour. As the unknown ship drew closer, more details became visible on their sensors. The vessel was roughly twice the size of their mining station, with a configuration unlike anything in human databases. Its hull showed signs of advanced metallurgy, and energy readings suggested power systems far beyond current human technology. Definitely not human, Sarah concluded after studying the scans. The power output alone is beyond anything we can produce. Jimmy looked nervous, but tried to maintain his usual optimism. Maybe they're friendly. First contact with an alien species would be the discovery of the century. Marcus wasn't sharing Jimmy's optimism. His military training was telling him to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. Everyone stay at your stations. Sarah, how quickly can we power down the mining operations and seal the station? 20 minutes for a full shutdown and lockdown, she replied. But that would leave us defenseless if their intentions are hostile. And if their intentions are friendly, a defensive posture might be seen as aggressive, Elena added. We need to consider the diplomatic implications. Thomas's console chimed with an incoming message from Earth Command. Earth acknowledges our situation report. Admiral Hayes sends instructions to maintain peaceful contact attempts, but to prepare defensive measures. A relief squadron is being dispatched, but won't arrive for 16 days. 16 days. If the approaching aliens had hostile intentions, the 5 humans on Kepler 442b would be entirely on their own. Their small mining station had never been designed for combat. It had basic shields, limited weapons systems, and no means of escape if things went badly. The unknown ship continued its approach, and at 1 million kilometers, it finally began broadcasting. But the signal wasn't directed at the mining station. Instead, it was transmitting on frequencies that suggested communication with other vessels. "There are more ships coming," Thomas announced with growing alarm. "I'm detecting response signals from at least 3 other vessels. They're coordinating their approach." The situation had just become much more serious. What had seemed like a possible first contact scenario now looked like a coordinated operation involving multiple alien vessels. The 5 humans on the mining station were vastly outnumbered and outgunned. Sarah began emergency preparations, powering up the station's defensive systems while maintaining mining operations. If these aliens wanted their rare metals, they would have to fight for them. Marcus checked their weapons inventory, which consisted mainly of mining charges and basic defensive cannons designed to clear asteroid debris. Elena opened emergency medical supplies and began preparing for potential casualties. Her medical training included combat medicine, but she had never expected to use those skills on a remote mining station. Jimmy worked frantically to ensure all critical systems were at peak efficiency, knowing that equipment failure during a crisis could be fatal. As the alien fleet drew closer, their formation became visible on sensors. 4 ships in a perfect diamond pattern, approaching with military precision. These weren't explorers or traders. They were predators, and the 5 humans on Kepler 442b were about to become their prey. At 30 minutes from intercept, the alien fleet finally responded to human communication attempts. The message that came through their translators was brief and chilling. "Human mining facility will cease operations. Evacuate immediately or face consequences." The 5 crew members looked at each other with a mixture of fear and determination. This was their station, their livelihood, and their home. They had invested years of their lives building this operation, and Earth depended on the rare metals they extracted. Walking away wasn't an option. Marcus made the decision for all of them. Send a reply. Tell them this is a legitimate human operation under Earth jurisdiction. We're not leaving. Thomas hesitated. "Marcus, we're outnumbered 4-1 by ships with superior technology. Maybe we should consider—" "No," Marcus said firmly. "We don't abandon our post. We're not just miners here. We're representatives of humanity. If we run at the first sign of trouble, what kind of message does that send?" Sarah supported his decision. "The station can't be easily replaced. It took 3 years to build and represents billions of credits in investment. We have a responsibility to protect it." Elena nodded, though her medical training made her acutely aware of their vulnerable situation. "If we're staying, we need to prepare for the possibility that this won't end peacefully." Jimmy's usual smile was replaced by grim determination. "I'm with you all. This is our home." The response was transmitted. "This is Kepler 442b mining station under Earth jurisdiction. We will not abandon our legal operations. Please state your intentions and legal authority." The alien reply came swiftly. "You've been warned. Consequences begin now." At that moment, the 4 alien ships opened fire simultaneously. Energy beams lanced through space, striking the mining station with devastating accuracy. The first volley disabled their communications array, cutting them off from Earth. The second volley destroyed their defensive weapons. The third volley breached the station's outer hull in multiple locations. Emergency alarms screamed throughout the station as atmospheric pressure began dropping in damaged sections. Sarah fought to maintain life support, while Marcus coordinated damage control efforts. Elena treated Jimmy for injuries sustained when a control panel exploded near his workstation, while Thomas worked desperately to restore any form of external communication. But the aliens weren't interested in a prolonged fight. Their next volley targeted the station's power core and life support systems with surgical precision. They weren't trying to capture the station or its occupants. They were executing them. Within minutes, it was over. The 5 humans who had made Kepler 442b their home were dead, their bodies floating in the wreckage of their destroyed station. The alien ships methodically salvaged the most valuable materials before departing, leaving behind only debris and silence. But the aliens had made a critical mistake. In their efficiency, they had overlooked something important about human technology. Every mining station built by Earth included multiple backup systems, including emergency beacons designed to survive catastrophic damage. These beacons were hardened against electromagnetic pulses, impact damage, and extreme temperatures. They were designed to keep transmitting long after everything else had failed. Deep in the wreckage of Kepler 442b, 3 emergency beacons activated automatically when the station's main systems went offline. They began broadcasting a detailed record of everything that had happened, including full sensor logs of the alien attack. The transmission was tight beam, directed toward Earth on frequencies that would penetrate through most forms of interference. The message would take 18 minutes to reach Earth, but when it arrived, it would tell the complete story of humanity's first act of interstellar murder. 5 humans had died, not in battle, but in cold-blooded execution. They had offered no threat to the alien fleet. They had simply been in the wrong place when a superior force decided that human life was expendable. But the aliens didn't understand humans very well. They saw 5 isolated victims on a remote mining station and assumed that eliminating them would be a simple matter with no consequences. They had no idea that humans possessed something that would make their casual murder a fatal mistake, a concept called proportional response. Earth's reaction to the death of 5 innocent miners would not be measured or diplomatic. It would be swift, overwhelming, and final. The aliens had just made an enemy of a species that had spent 10,000 years perfecting the art of warfare. They had attacked the wrong people at the wrong time for the wrong reasons, and they would pay for that mistake with everything they had. The emergency beacons continued transmitting into the void, carrying their message of murder toward a blue planet where 5 billion humans were about to learn that their people had been killed without provocation or mercy. The aliens had started a war they couldn't understand with an enemy they had fatally underestimated. Earth's vengeance would come quietly, but it would come absolutely.